Throughout history, humans have expanded our influence across the globe, waging wars, making technological breakthroughs, creating art, and pursuing whatever else our adventurous minds could imagine. Along the way, we've left behind countless artifacts as tokens of our achievements. While many of these artifacts are carefully preserved and treasured, countless others have just been lost to time, inspiring expeditions, treasure hunts, and indeed YouTube videos. So today, we're going to explore 7 historical artifacts whose locations remain a mystery. Of all the forms of media throughout history, few have captured our imagination or spread as quickly across the globe as cinema. While many people think of Hollywood when considering film's origins, one of the greatest pioneers in the early days of cinema was actually Australia. At a time when the US and much of the world was still producing short features of 10 to 15 minutes, Australian filmmakers were already experimenting with hour-long reels, dramatically expanding the scope and entertainment value of movies. The first and foremost groundbreaking in these early works was the story of the Kelly Gang, which premiered at the Athenaeum Theatre in Melbourne on Boxing Day 1906. The film told the story of Ned Kelly, the infamous 19th century bushranger or outlaw, as well as his gang. Portrayed as sympathetic figures fighting for higher justice, much like Robin Hood and his merry men, the Kelly Gang struck a chord with audiences. The film was an immediate success, and within a year, it had reached international audiences in New Zealand and England, where it was promoted as the longest film ever made. It earned its filmmakers around £25,000, or £4.6 million today, on a budget of just $1,000. But the film's sympathetic portrayal of a relatively recent outlaw, combined with a surge of crimes across Australia, especially in regions tied to the Kelly Gang story, did spark some controversy. Meanwhile, the string of bushranging films released in its wake only intensified public concern. As a result, efforts to censor such films grew, and by 1914, the New South Wales government had banned their production altogether. Just 8 years after the story of the Kelly Gang first debuted, although the film inspired directors around the world to extend their runtimes, it did not survive intact. Early motion pictures were made on materials that were both highly flammable and prone to decay. By the end of World War II, the story of the Kelly Gang had all but vanished. Between 1976 and 2006, fragments of the film, along with still photographs and promotional booklets, were uncovered, allowing restorers to piece together 15 to 20 minutes of footage. While this is only about a quarter of the original film, the surviving material demonstrates its pioneering techniques, including the first known use of shot perspective and screen tinting, introducing visual effects never before attempted. Even so, around 75% of the film remains lost forever, along with a full understanding of just how influential it was in shaping the modern art of cinema. Number 2, tapestry. In September 1066, William, Duke of Normandy, famously invaded England. Within just a few months, he defeated King Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings, marched on London, and was crowned King of England on Christmas Day. 11 years later, it is believed that William's half-brother Bishop Odo, by then the Earl of Kent, commissioned a nearly 70-meter or 230-foot embroidered cloth to commemorate the conquest. Beginning with the events in 1064, the tapestry depicts the ailing King of England, Edward the Confessor, allegedly sending his brother-in-law Harold to Normandy to pledge the throne to William in the event of Edward's death. Whether this oath was ever truly sworn remains uncertain, and many historians argue that if it happened at all, it was likely made under duress, invalidating it under medieval law. Thus, this makes the tapestry one of the earliest pieces of propaganda in England, since the claim that Harold had promised the crown provided William with a legal pretext for his invasion in 1066. For centuries, the vast tapestry was housed in the Bayeux Cathedral in Normandy. During the French Revolution, however, it was nearly destroyed when soldiers attempted to use it as a wagon cover. A local lawyer intervened, saving the tapestry by taking it into his possession. Later, in 1803, Napoleon had it briefly transferred to the Louvre, intending to use it to justify his own plans to invade Britain. When these ambitions collapsed, the tapestry returned to Bayeux, where it remained for nearly 150 years. Its next removal came during World War II, when German forces occupying France seized it for study. Heinrich Himmler, fascinated by its depiction of conquest, ordered scholars to examine it in detail. After the war, the tapestry was once again returned to Bayeux, where it still resides today. Despite its survival through centuries of turmoil, part of the tapestry has been lost. Between 2.4 and 3 meters or 8 to 10 feet of embroidery disappeared at some point during its relocations. Today, the tapestry ends abruptly with the English fleeing the battlefield at Hastings. leaving the coronation of William, arguably the climax of the story, absent. Scholars long debated whether the missing sections vanished during the French Revolution or in the chaos of World War II. Then, in March 2025, a remarkable discovery was made. A fragment of the missing embroidery surfaced in the personal collection of Karl Schlumberg, a German textile archaeologist. He had been part of the team tasked by Himmler to study the tapestry during the occupation. At some point, he apparently had torn a piece off and taken it back to Germany after the war. This fragment will now be reattached as part of a 2-year, $40 million restoration project that actually began just last month, last August in 2025. At the time of recording, still, the find represents only a sliver of what's missing. Between 8 and 10 feet of the tapestry remains lost, likely forever, leading us to wonder what the final triumphant panels of William's conquest might once have shown. And then, number 3, Fabergé eggs. Of all the missing historical artifacts we mentioned today, none have captured as much fame, inspired as much pop culture, been sought after as intensely as the Romanov Easter eggs. In 1885, Tsar Alexander III of Russia wished to present an extraordinary Easter gift to his wife, Tsarina Maria. I'm not even going to try to pronounce their last name. He turned to the renowned St. Petersburg jewelry firm, the House of Fabergé, commissioning them to create a masterpiece. The result was a white gold jewel-encrusted Easter egg. Inside rested a golden hen nestled in a golden yolk on golden straw. Within the hen, the Tsarina discovered a miniature diamond replica of the imperial crown paired with a matching ruby pendant. The gift delighted Alexander and Maria so much that they appointed Karl Fabergé as the official imperial goldsmith. Each year thereafter, Fabergé crafted new one-of-a-kind eggs, intricately designed with precious metals and gemstones, and always containing a hidden surprise. When Alexander's son Nicholas II ascended to the throne, he continued the tradition. Between 1885 and 1917, it is believed that 52 of these extraordinary eggs were created. But in 1917, the Russian Revolution, fueled in part by the aristocracy's extravagance amid national hardship, erupted, ultimately leading to the execution of the entire Romanov family by the Bolsheviks. After the revolution, the Romanovs' treasures, including the eggs, were seized by the newly formed Soviet government. Yet some had already been smuggled out before officials could secure them. Over time, 46 of the original 52 have been accounted for, though some have speculated that even more may have been made. While many reside in museums across the world, others occasionally resurface before vanishing again. In 1934, reports of Fabergé eggs appearing in the West began to emerge, and one was even displayed in the window of a Lord & Taylor department store in New York City. In 2010, a Midwestern American unknowingly purchased one at an antique shop for $14,000, only to sell it at auction 4 years later for an astonishing $33 million. With at least 6 eggs still missing, historians, treasure hunters, and private collectors alike remain captivated, dedicating their lives to the hope of uncovering one of the world's most legendary lost treasures. Next, Caravaggio's Nativity. Yes, I'm probably going to butcher this name. Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio, not to be confused with the high Renaissance master Michelangelo, was a Baroque-era Italian painter whose life was as notorious as his art was revolutionary. Known for his turbulent personal life, Caravaggio transformed painting with his bold use of light and shadow, a technique exemplified in one of his most famous works, Nativity with St. Francis and St. Lawrence. Commissioned in 1609 by the Oratory of St. Lawrence in Palermo, Italy, the inclusion of the saints was almost certainly tied to the patronage. Upon completion, the work was displayed in the Oratory Hall, where it remained for more than 350 years. The painting depicts the birth of Jesus Christ in strikingly human terms. The infant lies on a simple haystack in a dark, somber manger. Beside him, Mary appears weary and vulnerable after childbirth. St. Francis, St. Lawrence, and an angel hover around the Holy Family, not in radiant light, but in shadows pierced by dramatic highlights. Caravaggio's use of tenebrism, an extreme form of chiaroscuro where deep darkness is used to highlight focal points in the lighter shades, broke with the convention of portraying divine figures bathed in brilliance. Instead, he revealed a human side of sacred moments, raw, fragile, real. It was a fitting approach for an artist whose own life was marked by violence, including the infamous killing of a man during a dispute over a tennis match. By 1969, the painting was valued at nearly $20 million, a fortune that likely sealed its fate. That October, under the cover of night, thieves broke into the oratory and sliced the canvas from its frame. While not the most expensive theft in art history, as Vermeer's The Concert, valued at up to $300 million, holds that title, the disappearance of Nativity became one of the most infamous art crimes ever recorded. Rumors swirled of mafia involvement, with whispers that the canvas was stolen on their orders. To this day, the painting's fate remains a mystery, earning it a spot on the FBI's top 10 art crimes list. For years, the oratory left the frame empty, hanging as a haunting reminder of the loss. In 2015, a recreation effort, was launched. Using archival photographs and digital analysis of Caravaggio's other works, artists managed to produce a striking replica. Yet, despite modern technology, no reproduction can truly capture Caravaggio's distinctive style. The original remains lost, perhaps destroyed, perhaps hidden away in some private collection, or as legend suggests, still hanging in the office of a Sicilian crime boss. Next, the Polish royal casket. In the late 18th century, Europe was dominated by powerful empires locked in a struggle for global influence. Among them stood Russia, Prussia, and Austria, three juggernauts that encircled Poland, a nation ill-prepared for such precarious positioning. The result was devastating. Through three successive partitions, the once mighty Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was completely erased from the map by 1795. Determined to preserve Poland's cultural heritage and her own family's royal legacy, Princess Isabella gathered a collection of priceless relics and safeguarded them inside a wooden casket. The so-called Polish royal casket contained jewelry, silverware, and even a portrait of Queen Constance of Austria, sister to Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II. As part of her lifelong mission of preservation, Princess Isabella also established the museum in Krakow, today one of Poland's oldest museums, where the casket was placed for safekeeping. For nearly 150 years, the royal casket remained undisturbed. That changed with the outbreak of World War II. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, museum staff attempted to protect its treasures by transporting the casket to southeastern Poland, where it was reportedly hidden inside a sealed, bricked-up repository. But secrecy did not last. According to accounts, a local German mill owner betrayed the hiding place to Nazi soldiers. Once discovered, the casket and its contents were plundered, valuables divided among the troops. While some looted artifacts from the museum have resurfaced in the years since, the Polish royal casket and the treasures within have never been recovered. To this day, Princess Isabella's passions remain lost, an enduring symbol of cultural heritage stolen in one of history's darkest hours. And then we have Ireland's crown jewels. Now, when most people hear the term crown jewels, they think of royal heirlooms passed down through generations of kings and queens, but Ireland's so-called crown jewels were something altogether different. In 1839, King William IV gifted them to the Grand Master of the Order of St. Patrick for use during formal ceremonies. Since the position of Grand Master was held by Britain's Viceroy of Ireland, the regalia was meant to serve as a powerful emblem of authority. The set included a diamond badge, 5 jewel-encrusted collars, and a diamond star mounted on blue enamel. The pieces were lavishly adorned with 394 precious stones, including Brazilian diamonds, an emerald trefoil, and a ruby cross, many of them originally belonging to Queen Charlotte's personal collection. For more than 70 years, these glittering symbols of power were kept at Dublin Castle until the morning of the 6th of July, 1907, when they vanished without a trace. Their disappearance might seem shocking, given the jewels were housed in a secure vault inside Bedford Tower, and the castle itself was guarded day and night by soldiers and police. Yet in reality, the theft was anything but surprising. The man responsible for all that keeping, Sir Arthur Vicar, the Ulster King of Arms, was infamous for his negligence. In the months leading up to the theft alone, doors to both the tower and the vault were repeatedly left unlocked. A cleaner even stumbled upon an intruder, but nothing was done. Vicars himself frequently displayed the jewels to friends and visitors, often misplaced his keys, and once allowed a friend to walk off with the jewels, only for them to be returned later by post. When the jewels were finally reported missing, investigators realized no one had checked on them in nearly a month, with the last sighting being yet another of Vikar's ill-advised showings. With no signs of forced entry, suspicion naturally fell on Vikar's carelessness. The scandal erupted into one of Ireland's largest investigations. Public outrage was immense. But despite his reputation, Vickers was cleared of direct involvement. Instead, suspicion shifted to Francis Shackleton, brother of the famed Arctic explorer Ernest Shackleton. Yet no charges were ever brought, and the case grew increasingly desperate. Authorities even consulted psychics, exhuming graves around Dublin in the hopes of finding clues. Despite all efforts, Ireland's crown jewels were never recovered. More than a century later, their fate remains one of the nation's most enduring mysteries. An unsolved heist steeped in scandal, incompetence, and intrigue. Next up, the Honjo Masamune. Goro Masamune, a master swordsmith of the 13th to 14th century in Japan, is widely regarded as the greatest craftsman of his kind, not just of his era, but ever. In a nation celebrated for its sword-making tradition, Masamune's work stood apart, largely because he perfected the method of differential tempering. This technique, which used mixed metals, clay, and heated treatment, produced blades with differing levels of hardness throughout the piece. The result was the hallmark of the Japanese katana, a razor-sharp edge combined with a softer curved spine that gave the weapon both resilience and deadly efficiency. Among his creations, none achieved greater renown than the Honjo Masamune, which is often described as a masterpiece forged from layers of hard and soft steel under intense heat. The katana was said to possess unmatched sharpness, a graceful curvature, and a mirror-like polish. Yet with no surviving photographs or detailed sketches, its exact appearance remains unknown. Even the distinctive hamon, the wavy temporal lines along the blade, has been lost to history. The sword first entered the record in 1561, when General Honjo Shigenaga captured it in battle and claimed it as a spoil of war. Later strapped for cash, Honjo sold the blade to Yotomi Datsugu, though the sword would forever bear his name. Over the years, it likely passed through multiple hands before reaching Tokugawa Ieyasu, founder of the shogunate in Japan's Edo period. From that point, the Honjo Masamune remained in the Tokugawa's family's possession for over 260 years, becoming a treasured symbol of their power. Its long documented history ended in the aftermath of World War II. When the U.S. occupied Japan, citizens were ordered to surrender all weapons, including family heirlooms like ancestral swords. Many chose to destroy their blades rather than see them confiscated. But the family, seeking to set an example as respected political leaders, complied. In December 1945, they surrendered 14 swords, including the Honjo Masamune, to the Majiro police station in Tokyo. The following month, records show that a U.S. sergeant named Colby Beemore took custody of the blades on behalf of the Allied authorities, seeking to liquidate newly acquired foreign assets. This is where the trail goes cold. No such soldier exists in any official documentation. The most likely explanation is that someone invented the name and used the chaos of post-war Japan to steal the swords. Since then, the Honjo Masamune has never resurfaced. Whether destroyed, hidden, or quietly sitting in a private collection, it remains the most valuable missing sword in history, revered not only for its cultural and artistic importance, but also for the mystery that still shrouds its fate. And then it's 7 artifacts that are still missing somewhere in the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell notification button to be notified of future videos. And of course, if you want to support the channel, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/LarryMLease. Everything you give goes right back into this channel, and this channel only. And with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.